Welcome back to the United Pubcast for your Friday Night Pint. And anyone who has listened and watched the United Pubcast before obviously knows EMAD. So I think we can dub this Friday Night Pint EMAD, the United McPubcast. Obviously, there is going to be no shame today in our celebration and praising of the match winner, 93rd minute winner of Scott McTominay. So if you are looking forward to a little bit of shameless content, please do leave a like on the video. If you are not going to enjoy the Scott McTominay loving, please leave a like on the video anyway, and send us all your abuse, and we'll just dissect it and have a bit of a discussion with everyone. But I think that is one of the things that we'll get into 3-2-1s in a little. I say 3-2-1s, Emad, but I just talk about Scott McTominay's 3-point presentation. I think that's all it's going to be. But talk to me about your Friday, because Manchester United don't play on Tuesdays and Wednesdays in regards to the Champions League. We do get Friday mornings football here in Australia, and it can sort of ruin the week or sort of make it a good week. And fortunately, it didn't look like it was going to happen up until the 93rd minute. But fortunately, we got the result, and it has changed the mood and the discussion.
Mate, Friday morning is prime time European football now. I don't know about this Wednesday, Thursday stuff. The thing with the United is we either get that Monday morning disappointment because they usually ruin our week, the start of the week, or as you were saying, they could put a bad taste in your mouth towards the end. I actually have a special guest with me here, Tom. I'm just want to know if it's all right if I bring him in. He's a bit shy. Here he is. Here. Oh, Scotty.
Sit him up there. Put him on your shoulder.
That's it, mate. The knees, the sliding knee merchant. Here he is, mate. Bagging winners for fun, eh?
Well, we'll get into Erik ten Hag in terms of Erik ten Hag, sort of the label of the podcast in terms of how much he trusts Scott McTominay and why that is the case, and sort of was there anything in that substitution in regards to Erik ten Hag's thinking. But Prem, good mate of ours, evening veterans. I take that as a compliment, Prem, but good to see you, mate. Hope all is well. But Emad and I played a game. Yeah, Emad and I played a game not even a week ago. But Emad, we're just on the mend now. We've just started walking again. We could have the young legs of Prem actually helping us.
Yeah, we could have. He'll know what it feels like once he hits 30. Once you hit 30 per annum, mate, every little crack, every little ache, every little twist and turn, you're going to feel it for days after that. So 30 is the magic number.
Cristiano Ronaldo is potentially feeling those effects as well, so I'm sure he'll sort of pop up in the discussion a little bit later. And good mate of ours, Ashby, good to see you as always, mate. But before we get into everything, make sure you do leave a like on the video if you are watching and get all your thoughts in the comments section. But Emad, how we start any sort of match review, starting 11, and what did you think? And I think this is an interesting one because I'll just get your thoughts on what you made of it, but just put the spin on it in regards to what was rotation, what was dropped, what was tactical, just your thoughts on everything sort of put together.
Look, the last couple of lineups, I think it was even the away game to Omnia. What are they called? Omnia?
I go Ammonia.
Yeah, we'll go Ammonia. Right. The away game we played last week against them, I thought was quite a strong lineup, and it seems as though, you know, obviously with the new signings that we've had come in, our strength in our depth in the whole squad has become a lot stronger. So no matter what lineup Ten Hag puts out there, for me, I'm just finding that they all seem to be strong starting 11s. This lineup in particular, I thought there might have been a bit more rotation than what was actually presented to us. I know Fred had come in to start alongside Casemiro, which means Eriksen drops out. Well, not even dropped, probably just given a well-earned rest. Yeah. We've run the guy into the ground over the last, 4 or 5 weeks. Alasia comes back in for sure, which I think is a good game to bring him back in because I know he had a hard time against Manchester City. And then you got Lindelof partnering Martinez. So I'm presuming that even though Varane come on the other day to shore up the back line, but he's probably just keeping him fit for Sunday against Newcastle.
Will be interesting. We'll get into the Newcastle preview, and that'll be interesting in regards to Rafael Varane. So look, at the end of the day, it's off the back of a clean sheet. I don't want to say sort of celebrate a clean sheet against the opposition from Cyprus, but facts are facts. It'll be interesting how Erik ten Hag sort of weighs that up, because I think Lindelof and Martinez, again, maybe not the opposition, but sort of looked comfortable enough. you would say sort of a little bit of a good combination. But just in regards to the performance, now this is interesting. Now we'd definitely be having a different discussion if it was a 0-0 draw. Thankfully, we got the winner late on, and it does change the discussion. But I think everyone in the live chat and yourself as well sensible enough to have a sort of adult discussion about the performance and take away frustrations, sort of put that to the side. I fully accept and understand, okay, it wasn't a great performance. No one's sort of happy in terms of we should be putting teams like that to the sword and scoring plenty of goals and getting it wrapped up. And I think that is where a lot of the sort of anger and frustration comes today in terms of we all had in our mind, okay, 4-0 up at halftime, then sub all the players. So we had that in our mind in an ideal world. Now, football in Manchester United's not ideal. So we got dealt a different deck of cards. Erik ten Hag and the players had to deal with it. That is life. Manchester City probably wanted to be 5-0 up against Copenhagen. They had a 0-0 draw. That happens. That happens to the best team in the world, sort of thing. But in regards to that, I was actually watching the game. Now, yes, if we had a 0-0 draw and the goal doesn't go in, I'm filthy. I'm having a far different discussion. However, even 80th minute, 85th minute, maybe the 90th minute, my opinion might have been changing. But I was quite comfortable. I was quite happy with the performance. Now, yes, I understand the opposition isn't there. I fully understand that, but you can only beat what is in front of you. And I just had a feeling it was. I remember now, not to compare times, but under Louis van Gaal and Jose Mourinho, we used to go a month, maybe 2 months, until we created that amount of chances. And we always complained when we had those 0-0 draws or 1-1 draws. We said we want to see chances. We're only creating one chance at the Stretford end every 2 weeks. We created over 30 chances, and I'm just thinking, yes, obviously the execution let us down. We need to be more clinical. If we sort of shoot like that against higher quality opposition, it's going to come back to hurt us. So obviously that is the case. But in regards to the performance, getting the ball from back to front, look, yes, it wasn't vintage. I fully understand that, but I thought it was actually quite a solid performance.
No, I totally agree with you. So obviously, as you know, I didn't watch the game live this morning because I worked last night, and then I tried my best to stay awake, and I think I was 30 seconds into the game, and then it was lights out for me. But I did catch the replay on MUTV this afternoon. The performance, you're right, it was actually a very good performance. You know, barring the execution and the lack of finishing, with the amount of chances we had created, the way we knocked the ball around from front to back, the high line that the boys played from the at the back line. Everyone was pretty much camped in the opposition half. Seeing the guys knock the ball around as well as they did was quite promising. And I understand, okay, they're not the strongest opposition in the world, but as you said, we play what's in front of us. I can't knock the performance. The keeper, like the opposition keeper, just so happened to be a vintage, world-class, all-time, greatest keeper of all-time performance that he's pulled out.
Did you see that story around him in regards to he's a fan? He had the interview. He sort of had selfies with all the players after the game in the change room.
He's had the game of his life.
And look, yes, we're having a very sort of positive discussion because we got the result. Maybe we wouldn't have too much of a liking towards him if he sort of held on to the clean sheet. But it is something now we can sort of look back on. Well, that is a good story.
It is. It's a feel-good story. But and like you said, I mean, we had to score a goal. And you're right. Everyone's tone would be changed if it was a 0-0 draw. I mean, if you just look at the scoreline itself without watching the match, if it ended 0-0 or even with the 1-0 win, without looking at the match, you're going to go, that's quite embarrassing for a team of United's, stature compared to a team of, with all due respect, like nobody's. But if you watch the match and you see the way we played, we played Ten Hag ball, and the football was good and the intensity was there and just everything was coming together, bar the finish. I mean, you can't fault the guys at all.
Yeah, no, 100%. Antonio here, good to see you, mate. Yeah, with along the lines of keeper turned into a brick wall. Fair play to him. I don't even think he's their first choice goalkeeper. So look, absolute fair play to him. It'll be interesting. It'll be very interesting over the next. I remember I was talking to a person at work today in regards to the World Cup. Someone has a good performance at the World Cup. You can only imagine what happens in the transfer market.
Oh, yeah.
So fair play to this guy. No, definitely. So fair play to this guy. Hopefully he does kick on and maybe get a move off the back of this. I thought he was brilliant, but thank God we ended up sort of getting the winner in the end. But is there anything in regards to anything else in the performance? We just said, okay, here it's sort of a solid performance, but besides the execution, obviously the execution is what let us down. But was there anything not alarming, but sort of a little bit disjointed or not happy with in regards to the performance?
No, not really. I did see a couple of lapses of concentration where they did put us on a back foot a couple of times. trying to hit us on the counter, which everyone knew they were going to do anyway. They're going to put everyone behind the ball and try to hit us on the break. And they did a couple of times. I wouldn't say it was alarming because I think Martinez and Lindelof, recovered and diffused that situation quite well. I wouldn't say there was any alarming performances. I mean, other than the finishing, I can't really pinpoint my finger on anything else. Like Rashford should have had a hat-trick in the first half.
Yeah.
Ronaldo could have got himself a hattie. Other than the finishing, I can't really fault anyone.
Well, before we get into 3-2-1s, we'll bring those up and look. Again, no shame. It's just we're going to award 2 points and 1 point. We know where the 3 points is headed. But before we get into that, sort of a bit of a, not a negative, but we sort of, deep down, I think we have a very similar agreement in regards to Bruno Fernandes and the way he plays the game. Look at my favourite player over the last decade in terms of Juan Mata. Absolutely brilliant play. The complete opposite of Bruno Fernandes in regards to that. So I should like a player like Juan Mata and dislike a player like Bruno Fernandes. However, I do like both of them. In regards to his performance, he's come in for a lot of criticism, and rightly so. I don't think he was good. I thought he was poor today. However, I do look at it, and I feel we look for things in regard, and everyone's guilty. You and Hero and I sit here and look out for the good things Scott McTominay does, and maybe ignore some bad things that he does. So that is, everyone is sort of programmed sort of to have one or two sort of things in their mind.
Scotty doesn't do anything wrong, Tom.
He doesn't do anything. But yeah, he's human. But I had to think about that, and a lot of people criticising Bruno's performance. And yes, I sit here and look at the eye test, and yeah, he was poor today. But then I look at it and think, okay, what was poor about him? And the obvious thing was Bruno giving the ball away. Okay, stupid passes. I sit there, and as a fan of Bruno, stupid pass, what are you doing that for? He had a better pass percentage than Casemiro, who I thought Casemiro had a very good game and was very careful with the ball. Casemiro gave the ball away more than Bruno Fernandes. Now, I just think it looked like Bruno Fernandes gave, because I think we look for that. And maybe we're right too, because obviously different area of the pitch.
You're right. I think it is something we look for, and I look for it all the time. So it is. I think it's because it's something that's been brought up so often, and I think that's a flaw in his game that's used as criticism towards him. That is the first thing you're going to see. If his first pass goes astray, or he misplaces it, or is dispossessed, that's the first thing you're going to pinpoint, and then that's going to stick in your mind, regardless whether he completes the next 10, 15 passes. That first misplaced pass is going to stick in your mind. And it does with me all the time. Because it's just
a little bit like Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire, yeah. He can clear out 10 balls. One ball goes over his head. He's out of position.
That's right. But, in terms of Casemiro, like, I know he's still trying to get to, come up to speed with the game, and, he's still getting his match fitness up because he's only had a couple of starts now and a few cameo appearances. I did notice more of his one-touch play because I know you brought it up against the Everton game when he played against Everton. His one-touch play was quite good. I watched that today and I noticed his one-touch play is quite, easy to watch. It's good on the eye. It makes hits its target. I didn't really pay too much attention, and it's probably because of, the other things that are going on in the game. Like, I didn't really pay too much attention with how many times Casemiro lost the ball. Even Bruno, for that matter. I think because it was a game we dominated for so long and had so much possession of the ball, I think you sort of can just, let those ones slide because...
I think the areas of the field where we lost the ball is trying to create a chance. Like, we weren't losing the ball in our back four, playing out from the back and sort of in a dangerous position. So those are the ones that really stand out. Oh, we lost the ball.
Correct.
Where if you lose the ball,
like when Casemiro lost it against Everton, dispossessed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
2 touches later, and it's top corner. So that's going to stick out in your mind. But in terms of like where we lost the ball with Bruno, for example, or even in Casemiro, we were in their half, so deep in their half for so long. I don't think it really played an effect on how we saw it or even the game, because even Lindelof and Martinez just cleaned up so quickly, so swiftly, and the game just, carried on.
Definitely, Munsey here. Good to see you, mate. Make sure you go over and subscribe to Munsey Talks. I think we need to start leaving Ronaldo on the bench in every game as we don't play well enough going forward with him playing. What's your thoughts? Look, I think we'll touch on that in regards to the Newcastle preview because, look, a lot of it comes down to potentially sort of just fitness of bodies in regards to who else can play it there at the moment if Anthony Martial is out injured. So we'll touch on the Ronaldo situation when we're looking ahead to Newcastle. But the last thing on Bruno Fernandes before we move on to the 3-2-1s for this one, Emad, we're sitting here and say, I think all of us have it, even Bruno Fernandes fans or people who are not a fan of Bruno Fernandes, we all said, what would we look like if Christian Eriksen played there, or if Donny van der Beek played there, or if a different player, even just for a couple of weeks, just drop Bruno Fernandes, see what it's like. Solskjaer plays him, Ralph Rangnick plays him, Erik ten Hag plays him, and now Erik ten Hag has dropped Ronaldo and dropped Harry Maguire, so Erik ten Hag will drop a player. He doesn't drop Bruno Fernandes. Why? Well, I don't know the answer. That's not a praise of Bruno Fernandes. I just think he's given managers something.
I don't know. Maybe the sheer fact that he's already dropped like the official club captain to go again, and like if he's already coming under criticism, because he can see already. Like I'm pretty sure Bruno Fernandes would be able to handle criticism a lot better than what Jacob Maguire has handled it, in his career. So, obviously with all the criticism Harry had copped, it didn't really help his performance. He didn't sort of step up to the plate and go, you know what, cop this. I'm gonna prove my critics wrong. I think Bruno Fernandes has the ability to prove his critics wrong, but I just don't think. I don't know if it'll be maybe it's a PR thing. Like it wouldn't be a good look on Ten Hag dropping both captains. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
Is he unfair? And this is not me sitting here sort of defending Bruno Fernandes to the hill. It might feel like it. It's not a case of that. I just think it's an interest. There are so many facets to the discussion. Is he? And I feel a lot of Manchester United players, both within the sort of fan base, within the media, are sort of unfairly treated. Is Bruno Fernandes unfairly treated in the aspect of he's the only player in world football compared to Kevin De Bruyne? Martin Odegaard's not compared to De Bruyne. No one from Liverpool's compared to De Bruyne. Only Bruno Fernandes misses a pass. De Bruyne wouldn't have misplaced that pass. And I'm just thinking, okay, maybe correct. Maybe that is true. But I'm just thinking, are we judging him to too high a standard? At the moment where Bruno Fernandes is at Manchester United, he's a Europa League player. That's where we are.
I think that comes down to the shirt that he's wearing, though. I mean, if that's Bruno Fernandes playing at... If it's Bruno Fernandes at Arsenal, you're not comparing him to De Bruyne.
True.
Do you know what I mean? Even though, like, I don't even see I know it's unfair to compare him to De Bruyne, because for me, De Bruyne, no one comes close to De Bruyne at the moment.
Yeah.
But I think if you put anyone in that number 10 role at United, they're going to cop that same criticism, regardless of the name on the back of the shirt. It's the name on the front of the shirt that brings that criticism so often and so harshly. I mean, if Odegaard's playing for us, he'll be copping that same criticism because of who we are as a club and where we should be. I mean, and like you said, you never hear this criticism of any other number 10 in the game or the comparison to De Bruyne. And I solely think that's down to being a United player, nothing else.
No, definitely. But as I say, he's potentially got the traits to handle the criticism. So no doubt Erik ten Hag would be fairly critical of aspects of his performance. Fingers crossed Bruno takes that on board and sort of kicks on. But we'll move on to 3-2-1s. And if you are in the live chat, please do let us know your 3-2-1s, because I've only given the sort of view to 3 points. You do need to help me on 2 points and 1 point, because, as I said, if the goal doesn't go in, we're having a very different discussion. We might not be giving out points, even though I think we both sat here and sort of said there was a solid enough performance. If the goal doesn't go in, thinking, oh, hang on, who do we give points to? Did anyone really do enough? So in regards to 3-2-1s, we'll just start on Scott McTominay, because I think it's a no-brainer. Comes off the bench, ultimate match winner. No one stood out throughout a man-of-the-match performance throughout the 90 minutes. So in the way we value these 3-2-1s, no-brainer. I don't think anyone will disagree. He was the biggest impact on the match. He comes on for... Did he come on for... No, he came on for Casemiro. I think Fred came on... Eriksen came on for Fred.
Correct.
McTominay came on for Casemiro. And I'm just thinking... I didn't want to... We were in a group chat with a few people, and I didn't want to do it in the group chat. I thought, no, this will sound stupid. Don't do it. It's not worth it. Everyone's frustrated with the 0-0 draw on the cards. I won't do it. I said, in regards to what this game needs, in regards to the positions we're getting into... If we need a goal, I'll just try Scott McTominay and just get him in the box. Something, and get crosses in the box in terms that he's a body in there. He likes to drive forward. They're not going to sort of be a threat on the counter. Just get him in the box, make him a nuisance. Maybe you can bundle something home. I should have done it, because 10 minutes later he's done it. I think what a genius hold it been, but I was too scared to put it in the chat at the time. But I'm just thinking there's that element of rotation in this. Okay, Casemiro, okay, resting for Everton, so okay, bring a new body on. But what was the feeling for you for Erik ten Hag bringing on Scott McTominay? Was it an urge to go and get a winner? Was it as just a simple rotation? Okay, Casemiro has played his 80 minutes, like get him off, or was there a tactical thing? Or because I actually watching it, I thought get him on. Now, is that me being a big fan of him? I just wanted to see him play, or from my aspect, when I was actually thinking about it, I thought his actual chance here.
I think it might be a bit of both, bit of the rotation, but more of the tactical. Because if I watched him in the short spell that he did come on for, and he wasn't sitting as deep as what Casemiro
If you
was
look at it, he could
sitting.
have had better. He could have had a hat trick.
Yeah, yeah.
He's hit a really good shot. A really good shot was a good save, and
the
he's
low one.
horribly skied one.
Yeah.
So those two go in the top corner. He's on a hat trick.
Yeah. So from a positional point of view, I was noticing that he was a lot further forward than what Casemiro was throughout the match. He was a lot further forward than what he usually is in the games that he does start. So he probably more than likely was brought on to sort of have that go forward and make that that impact. Not necessarily Ten Hag thinking, okay, Scotty's going to come on and score me the winner.
Yeah.
But he's going to contribute to that. He's going to be a part of that. He's going to be part of that. You got your front three, and then himself and Eriksen on that drive forward. He's going to be, involved a lot more than what Casemiro would have been. Even though Casemiro had a cracking shot in the first half and hit the crossbar, but I can see the tactical change and the tactical reason why Ten Hag brought him on.
As I said, we've sort of dubbed this podcast today the McPubcast, obviously two sort of co-founding members of the McTominay fan club. But I do look at it, and I know you agree with me here in regards to, yes, we're big fans of him in regards to wanting to see him play and sort of defending him from the criticism. However, it's exactly what I want. This is what I want from Scott McTominay. And he's not showing me, in my opinion, he's not showing me anything different from other years. What I'm seeing is different management of him. What we had under Solskjaer and Ralph Rangnick was you be the number 6 and you dictate the way Manchester United plays. But what we've seen in this good vein of form is he was on the bench against Everton, came on the last 5 minutes and won some headers when Wood's defending that narrow lead. Today, Casemiro came on, wasn't quite working, 10 minutes to go. Okay, Scott McTominay, give Casemiro a rest, come on, happened to score the winner. And I just think those are the type of games or the type of role that Scott McTominay is suited. That is what he should be. He shouldn't be the main man at Manchester United. That should be Casemiro. But when Scott McTominay is suspended this weekend, Casemiro comes in and McTominay plays 10 minutes here or there. And when he is afforded that role and sort of that trust within the squad, or the manager places that trust in him, that is when you're going to sort of reap the rewards. And unfortunately, as I said, I think players get treated unfairly. We've talked about Bruno Fernandes and Harry Maguire. And for far too long, we've placed demands that, unfortunately, and can be critical if you want to be, but we've placed demands on Scott McTominay that he's just simply not capable of dealing with. Yeah. But not many people can go and play the number 6 role for Manchester United, and we absolutely demanded that of him. And that wasn't fair, in my opinion. I think what is fair is what he's doing now. Bit part player and come in and do a job. Now, okay, you've done your job, got your match winner, okay, have the week off, Casemiro comes in again.
Yeah. I don't know, for me, he'd still be in my starting 11.
Well, look, there's a case now the way he's playing, potentially he 100%. Could play.
And I think you and I can both agree that since, we've founded this Love Scott McTominay club, that we both know that since McTominay's come into the fold, probably, barring a few good performances for Jose Mourinho, he was never really coached properly with the managers that he's had. You could see it. I mean, the whole McFred combination, you can see that those two were always going to cop the flack for, our lack of ability in midfield. But that's not their fault. It's probably not. Scott McTominay is not a 6. We all know that he's not a 6, but he is that player that can drive a bit more further forward. Obviously not a number 10, but he's probably into a number 8 role, alongside the likes of Christian Eriksen. And we've seen the benefits of that this season, how well he's performed in those weeks where we went on that good run and, had a four-game winning streak. I think with the signing of Casemiro, Scott, for me, unfortunately for me, because I am such a big fan of him, he's going to find himself on the bench a lot more than what he's probably used to being over the last few years. And even though you and I can both agree, and everyone here knows, as much as they don't want to admit it, every manager that he's played under has selected him. And you said the same thing about Bruno. Ollie played him, Ralph played him, now Erik's playing him. Well, the same thing with Scott McTominay. Jose's played him, Ollie's played him, Ralph's played him, and Erik's played him. So there's 4 managers.
Look, you don't need to sell it to me, but look, I completely agree. And look, as I said, he's picked up his 5 yellow cards, so he's unavailable against Newcastle. Maybe that is a good thing. Okay, Casemiro gets his next 90 minutes. And next game.
I think with Scott, he's being coached in a way like you said. Okay, you can go on. You come on against Everton, shore up, help shore up that defense because we've got the lead. He's won a few headers. He's done his job. Okay. Same thing with today. Go on and do this. I think once you give him
it does look very simple what he's doing. Like he's not.
Yeah, it is. He's not. Yeah, he's not lighting up the the pitch with skills and fantastic passing range and all that stuff. But he's doing his job. If you give him a specific role, a detailed role, and go, righto, Scott, go out and do this for me today, he's going to get it done. Whereas,
look, I completely agree. And look, you don't need. We both could talk about Scott McTominay all day long. Ashby here has the heart of a lion. What's not to like about him? I think that is one of the things which I've fallen back on the last couple of years when there has been no success for Manchester United. I say, okay, what does give me joy? And so many other players haven't been able to give me the basics in regards to working hard. So rightly or wrongly, I've fallen on players like Scott McTominay in regards to the effort they put in. That shouldn't be something celebrated, but unfortunately the position we've been in regards to it simply has been. But Adam here saying, I'm not sure why we didn't start Scott, considering he can't play on Sunday. That was my main thing. I was shocked that Fred played over McTominay. I thought Casemiro was potentially going to be out.
It would have been a good combo to see together.
I think we'll definitely see it at some stage, but I completely agree,
Adam.
I'd
like to have seen it see it together.
Well, moving on to 3-2-1, Ashby sort of reminded to put us back on track. And okay, 3 points to the great Scott. 2 points, 1 point's hard to weigh up to Rashford. You've gone 2 points, Sancho for 1 for Ashby here. I don't know about Rashford in regards to, again, weighing up the performance potentially. If it's 0-0, we're having a far different discussion about his finishing because, as I say, he could have had a hat-trick. Jadon Sancho is a shout. In the way he came on, I thought Jadon Sancho potentially, do I say change the game? Maybe change the game in regards to sort of maybe gave us
provided the assist.
Actually decent assist. Well, pretty much the assist as well. Yeah, sort of fired it across. So in the live chat, do get your 3-2-1s. Scott McTominay obviously got the 3. Let us know for 2 points and 1 point. Again, I thought when Luke Shaw came on, I thought Luke Shaw looked good.
Yeah.
Shaw, Sancho. In regards to the other front players, I think we do have to weigh up in terms of the execution. We would be having a very different discussion about their performance if we didn't get the goal. So I'm quite hesitant in regards to giving them any points. So I do have to look at players like even Lisandro Martinez, I thought got on the ball and tried to make things happen even from a deep position. Casemiro as well. So just give me your thoughts in regards to who else put in a solid performance. A couple
of balls that Martinez played out, or a couple of long balls that he played from the back, which I thought were just, I didn't think, obviously because no one knew who Martinez was prior to signing him. So I didn't know he had that sort of passing range in the locker. You know that I'm also a big fan of Victor Lindelof. And I think he's been harshly done by being just dropped down the pecking order because I think he should be quite, high up the pecking order. He performed quite well.
Do you think he's above when Harry Maguire's back fit? Where do you think Lindelof sits? In Erik Ten Hag's eyes, where do you think he sits in the pecking order?
In Ten Hag's eyes?
Yeah.
So your top two are going to be Martinez and Varane. Maguire's next in line, 100%.
You sure?
I think so.
Yeah, no, look, I wouldn't disagree. It's an interesting one because
I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't have it that way.
Yeah.
But I just think that's the way he'd play it.
Yeah, potentially.
You say that's what I'm saying. That's wrong. Bring it back to what we were talking about. Why he was not dropping Bruno. With the whole PR thing, the way it's going to look. Imagine having your club captain who you've already dropped to the bench,
fourth choice.
Now he's fourth choice.
Yeah. Oh no, there definitely is that aspect to it.
For me,
I understand that.
Lindelof above Harry Maguire any day of the week. I've always been a fan of Lindelof.
I think Lindelof may be a very different sort of category. However, I've never been fully sold on Victor Lindelof. However, again, Scott McTominay was asked to be our number 6. Victor Lindelof was asked to be our centre back, and I just think back up. Okay, you're the not third choice. You're third in line. Okay, our centre back's out. Okay, Victor Lindelof come in. Okay, it's an adequate replacement to go win the Champions League or the Premier League. I don't think he's that player, but he'd come in and play 20 games a season. I think, he's a very solid, good footballer. But I think we've sort of relied too much on him. We said, okay, you're going to be our main man to lead the defence. And look at the team we would have had to lead. Like, it's an absolute circus. I think put Virgil van Dijk in there, put Rio Ferdinand, put Nemanja Vidic. They're going to struggle in this team. So I think we were maybe asked too much of Victor Lindelof over the years.
In regards to Victor Lindelof, I've never thought of him as he'd be sort of like the leader of the back four. I do think he does need a really good, strong centre-back next to him to help. I think he'd be the perfect complement to a great centre-back. Yeah. That's the way I see him. The way he carries the ball at his feet, his passing range is amazing for me for a centre back. I think he's quick. Well, not the quickest, but he's quick enough.
I look at it now, and I don't pin these two good performances down to Victor Lindelof. But now I look at it in regards to, and this is not comparing Varane or Maguire, but in regards to Martinez and Lindelof, correct me if I'm wrong. Now, my point just might be an absolute ludicrous one. Now, I might be completely wrong. Lindelof played against Everton, didn't he? Re-jog my memory.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, so these two good performances where Lindelof has played against Ammonia and Everton have been attackingly. I think we've been playing good football, and I don't want to say, okay, it's because Victor Lindelof's passing the ball out of the back. However, if you put 2 and 2 together, it must be potentially something in that.
Well, yeah, correct. So I think the likes of Varane and Lindelof for me are quite similar. Okay, he doesn't have the CV of Rafael Varane, but I think they are quite similar players. But I think obviously, Varane does have that, a bit more quality about him than what Lindelof, because I think Lindelof struggles. He's got his defensive frailties. He's not as good as in the air as the likes of Varane. He's not the strongest centre back that we've had in the past, but I just think his football brain and like his IQ, I think he's up there, man. Like I think he reads the game really well. He knows where he has to be. He's there at the right time. He doesn't always sit tight on an attacker. He gives himself that a couple of yards space. He knows that like his areas that he has to work in. That's just things like that. Like that's why I like players like that. The ones who I know are intelligent up here, not just good with the ball at their feet and keep their face down and not look up. I like the smart players, and I think Lindelof is one of those players. And it's no coincidence that those two performances have come off the back of him also starting. But we can also say the same with, that 4-week run that we went on with McTominay.
No, look, at the end of the day, like you take the Harry Maguire issue out of the back four. It's a good solution. It's a good problem for Erik ten Hag. Okay, do you bring World Cup winner, Champions League winner Rafael Varane back in, or do you keep things as is? So obviously a good problem to have. Adam here with a shout, which a lot of us sort of alluded to. Now, a lot of us alluded to Fred potentially being a good player as well in Erik ten Hag's system. But I think a lot of us did have this shout as well, saying Lindelof is an Erik ten Hag type of centre-back when you think about his passing ability. Yeah, definitely looks like it. So fingers crossed he can continue. It'll be interesting. Sweden aren't at the World Cup as well, from memory. I don't think they qualified. Maybe they did. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Well, we better get on top of the World Cup. What's happening? It's in a couple of weeks. Emad, back on a 3-2-1. Scott McTominay 3 points. My hunch is Jadon Sancho 2 points. Just in regards to the impact, I think he made a difference. I thought, and that's not to say Rashford wasn't good on the left. I just think I felt a goal coming when Jadon Sancho was on the ball.
Yeah, he looked like, I don't know. It was a different sort of threat to what Rashford was providing in the first half, and I can't remember exactly what minute that substitution came in anyway. But Rashford was more of a getting behind the line and just pump it long sort of thing, and let him do his thing. Where Sancho, I felt you're right. He was more of a threat inside the box there. It did feel like something was going to come.
Well, you just look at the type of defence. As I say, there's no space for Rashford in behind. Sancho's not a player to him. He's very creative, sort of plays in front of the back four.
Correct, yeah.
And maybe it was just one of those ones. So, look, I would have leaned to Jadon Sancho. Just in regards to, as I said, the way we weigh up the 3-2-1s, I think he was pivotal. But after that, as I said, in terms of someone, Ashby said, Marcus Rashford, I think the chances were so wasteful, and I think we could be having a different discussion. And I was thinking this in about the 85th and 90th minute. I was thinking about 3-2-1s, and this was without the McTominay goal. And I was literally looking at that back two and potentially Casemiro as well. I was thinking, well, they're the ones who sort of haven't let us down today.
You know what? And to be honest, I liked what I saw from Delo and Malacia today as well. I thought they were quite.
I liked individually what they did. I thought they played well. I understand they're tucking in. I understand that's an Erik ten Hag thing. He might be playing the perfect role for Erik ten Hag. What this game needed, in my opinion, every time Lindelof or Casemiro or Martinez had the ball, we need to spray the ball out to the fullback. He's playing in central midfield. So we lack so much width. We needed that width, and I think, well, Erik ten Hag's doing it for a reason. Who am I to argue? He obviously reads the game far more better than me. So, okay, I'll hold my hands up and say he knows what he's doing.
I noticed they were doing that, so they do it alternatively. So you'd see Malacia come in. There was at one stage in the second half, in the first half, sorry. He was almost at right back.
Yeah.
I remember. He come across that far, and then you're right, we should have been using the width of Old Trafford against a team that was sitting in so narrow, low block. They were sitting in.
Where do you sit there as a fan in regards to, we have our opinions, and everyone's opinion we'll all think is right. That's why we have an opinion. So when we watch that, we think, oh, no, we should be doing this. But then we also cave to the potential, well, not potential, obviously far brighter football mind in Erik ten Hag. And where do you sit? Do you think, okay, it's frustrating, I wouldn't do it this way, however, he knows more than me, I'm just going to accept that? Or do you truly think, no, hang on, we should be doing this differently?
I mean, I'm just a mug that lives in Preston watching this game. He's the one in the top job, and he's there for a reason. So, I mean,
so do
maybe
you think
just,
like we potentially read the game wrong, or is it just in terms of interpretation? Everyone reads it differently.
I don't think that we read it wrong. I think it's just the way football's going. In this day and age,
this is pros and cons to both.
Right. But you and I are both used to a time where your traditional wingers and your left back and right back were left backs and right backs, and even growing up playing myself, we were always taught stay out wide, go out wide, push the ball out wide, and get the ball out to your wingers and your backs and get the ball into the box. I think that's something we were used to, and so seeing this different system, because it's always been that way at United as well, having our traditional wingers and the likes of Gary Neville and Dennis Irwin or Patrice Evra in their traditional positions. They were never really inverted fullbacks. So seeing it now, I think just us as fans, we have to accept and start to adapt with this change of football, because Ten Hag football isn't the same as Ollie Ball or Jose or Louis van Gaal or Moyes, not even Sir Alex Ferguson. I think we have to adapt with the way it's going to be, and because for us to be competitive in this day and age against the likes of your cities and I know Liverpool have fallen off a cliff at the moment, but they were also playing the same way that City were playing for the last couple of seasons. So I think we need to sort of match that and get to grips that this is the way United's going to move forward.
No, definitely. If you do look at the successful teams at the moment, they do play a particular style, and it's not the style that we played when Manchester United were the best team in the world. Football does move on, no doubt about it. But as I said, back on a 3-2-1s, McTominay for 3, Jadon Sancho for 2. That 1 point as the guest, Matt, I'll give you the floor, and whoever you want to give a point to, really.
Oh, yeah, you can flip the coin here, man, either Martinez or Lindelof, and you probably go, I don't know, from what I remember seeing a couple of times he cleaned up, so I'll give it to Martinez.
Yeah, no, I think Martinez, he's just, for centre-back, you don't often see centre-back like involved. I saw him involved, and I think that was, again, in terms of just his potential mentality as a play. Okay, 0-0. Okay, I've got no threat in behind me. I've got to try and win this game. Now, he wasn't going to be the player to win the game, but he had that mentality. I get the ball. I saw once or twice the ball went out for a throw, and he was sprinting across to get it. He had that urgency. So I think that urgency definitely it's infectious. And I think that is something that other players sort of feed off.
It's a part of this Ten Hag system that I'm starting to actually enjoy, because I grew up being most of my life playing in the back line anyway. So, and I know it's probably one of the most boring positions in traditional football, being part of the back forward, boring as like you hardly get to touch the ball. But I think I'm quite liking seeing the likes of Martinez and Lindelof being so involved, as you said, in the game. And I don't know, I like to see that a lot. So it means we're dominating.
Well, if you look at sort of, I know Pep Guardiola's Manchester City team is fantastic now, but if you look at the best Pep Guardiola teams, in my mind, what you think of Barcelona, he never used to play defenders. He used to put central midfielders at the back like Mascherano and Busquets, and he used to play players like that just to get on the ball. And I just think it is interesting.
It was the first time I ever saw Mascherano play in centre-back.
Yeah, they just said, stuff. We'll just have the ball more than you. We don't need to defend. So definitely as goes along the lines of sort of the game is moving on. But speaking of moving on, if you do agree or disagree with those 3-2-1s, do leave your thoughts in the comments below if you are watching on playback. And if you are in the live chat, if you have any discussion points or things you want brought up, please do put it in the live chat, and we'll discuss it after this little bit of a Newcastle preview, because that is what Friday Night Pint is. It looks back at the week that was at Man United and look ahead to the weekend. It is a midnight kickoff on a Sunday, so Sunday night, Monday morning, however you want to weigh that up in Sydney. So not the worst time, but obviously not ideal. But
kickoff.
Right on midnight. So I probably won't set the alarm. I'll probably power through, but see, that's where it tricks you, Matt. The midnight kickoff, yeah, that's not bad. What midnight kickoff really means, that means, okay, 2 a.m. finish. Then if the result's not your way, that's a 3 a.m. sleep because you're filthy for an hour. So midnight doesn't sound too bad.
I'll be watching it at work, so I'm all right.
Easy does it. But in regards to that, we'll look ahead to it. Newcastle now, look, you and I, as Paran put earlier in the chat, labelled as veterans. us veterans here, Newcastle v Man United, that's a big game. Now, yes, it hasn't had that sort of panache over the last 10 years, but in terms of the way we grew up as Man United fans, Newcastle's a big club, some fantastic players. They very often sort of did us. They had some fantastic results over us over the years. Obviously, some great players, some great occasions, and I'm just thinking we're not going to have a debate about Newcastle and their ownership or Manchester United's ownership, but they're obviously on their way back and they're coming back for whatever reason. I'm just thinking, is that something you relish just as a football fan? Okay, two iconic clubs playing against each other, or are you thinking, well, hang on, Manchester United aren't in the greatest of positions. Newcastle in 5 years could be taking our spot at the top table. So how have you sort of weighing up their sort of potential resurgence?
I actually quite like it because, like, as you said, I do relish in these games because for me, the greatest era of football is the era that we grew up in. You know, in that time of the Premier League, and just European football in general was probably the greatest era, ever in football. So seeing those clashes against the likes of Newcastle, who were back in the day, they were a really good team. I know they come close to the title a couple of times, and who can forget that famous Kevin Keegan rant? That's right. And
Erik
how many points? How many points did we chase them down?
It was 14. I remember it was 8 1-0 wins in a row, I think.
It was after Christmas or something. We chased them down, and that rivalry's always been there. And we always, speak about our traditional rivals being the likes of Liverpool and Arsenal and City, but we did have that rivalry of Newcastle back in the day. They were always a speed hump to play against because you just didn't know. You weren't that confident going into the game against Newcastle. And then we did have that period, I think, in the 07, I'm going to probably say 05 to 010, where we just dusted them off for fun. Yeah. They were pretty much by then a nothing club. But no, their resurgence, I like to see it. It's good for the Premier League, it's good for English football, good for the people in Newcastle. But to tell you, if I told you I was 100% confident going into this game on Sunday night, Monday morning, I'd be lying. Because they're in a hot run of form at the moment, aren't they?
Where does the potential lack of confidence come from? Is that Newcastle are good, or are you worried about what you see in a red shirt, or potentially going to see in a red shirt?
I think it's more about potentially what I'm going to see in a red shirt. Only because, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful or criticise our players, only because I don't watch a lot of Newcastle games. Obviously, just see the results, watch the overnight goals, and that's about it. So I don't watch their performances, but from what I'm hearing is that they're playing quite well at the moment. Obviously, just disposing teams in the last couple of weeks for fun. But I think it's more about what we produce on the day. Obviously, the City game sticks to mind. Brentford, Brighton, those performances worry me because I know that it's obvious that everyone can see that they're not completely over that. They haven't overcome that hurdle, that psychological hurdle of going a goal down and coming back. Even though we did it against Everton, I need to see something like that more consistent. Like that run of form we went with Ollie. We'd only win away games or whatever if we win a goal down. We need to.
Look, I completely agree with you, man. But Adam here with a comment saying, I'm worried about Bruno Guimaraes. He's a top player, gutted we didn't sign him. You have no doubt, whichever one, United win or Man United, Newcastle United win or Man United win, it's going to be a Bruno. That'll be one Bruno wins. Either our Bruno Fernandes or the Bruno from Newcastle will be fingers crossed it ends up on our side of the coin, but that will be interesting. But in regards to Bruno Guimaraes, I was discussing with a Brazilian mate of mine, discussing the Brazilian World Cup team. And off the back of this performance this morning, Ahmad, sort of moving in with a look ahead to the Newcastle match. And our midfielder, McTominay, is injured. So Casemiro comes in. Now, we obviously think 9 times out of 10, we can pretty much pick it. It'll be Casemiro, Eriksen, and Bruno Fernandes. But the selection of Casemiro or Fred next to Casemiro this morning got a lot of criticism, which I agree with. It wasn't the 11 or wasn't the midfield I would have gone with. However, that's the midfield Brazil will think they're going to win the World Cup with. Fred plays with Casemiro. And Bruno Guimaraes is someone who doesn't really play in the Brazil. He's in and around the squad, but he's not a starter, from what I know and from what my mates have been telling me. So I'm just thinking, yes, we're critical of the selection of Fred and Casemiro, but as I said, that could potentially be world champions in 6 weeks' time. And I'm just thinking, are we right to be that critical of it, or could you see a situation where Fred keeps his spot, but plays again, or is it a shoe in that Eriksen comes back?
Fred in a Brazilian shirt is probably a
He's
different
Brazilian.
Fred. Is Brazilian. And then, I don't know, the Fred that comes and plays for United is just some guy we signed from Stoke for, you know what I mean? Like, it's not the same. So you're right. Potentially in 6 weeks, 8 weeks time, whatever it is, they might be crowned world champions. But I think it's just the whole. It's completely different side, man. The Brazilian side. I think at the moment this is probably their best chance at a World Cup since when they win the last one, 2000 was it 2002?
Yeah, in Korea, Japan. Yeah, 2002 would have been the last one.
Yeah. So it's probably their best chance since then. It looks like a good squad that they've put together there. I haven't seen much of this, the Newcastle Bruno, to be quite honest. But from what everyone's saying, again, obviously Adam's pointed it out in the comments that he's one of their bigger threats, and everyone's singing his praises. So for me, for Sunday, I don't want to see the Casemiro and Fred combination though. And I know I don't think Erik will
is
play
that
anyway.
a simple case whether if you're a better man, Erik ten Hag is definitely going to do this. Would you do it as well, especially at home? It's not now. It really shouldn't make a difference home or away. It does for some, and it truly does. It shouldn't, but for some reason, football is a funny game. It does. This is at Old Trafford. Bruno and Eriksen are going to play a little bit ahead of Casemiro.
Yeah,
I think that's the right decision. Is it the right decision for you? Because it's going to happen, and I think it should happen. But are you happy with it?
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. I would play Bruno and Eriksen 100%. And I know the whole doesn't matter where we play it. It should just be, you should just have the same mentality anyway. But I think because it is at home, and that is going to play a part, we do have to get this win. You know what I mean? Like playing it. I think why playing at home makes a difference is because you can't put on, and I'm not going to say, I'll say like a lesser quality midfielder in terms of Fred compared to Eriksen, right? You can't put him on and then tell these guys to expect them to win, sort of thing, and the crowd to sort of back that. The crowd are going to turn around and will go, "You didn't win the game because you played Fred.
Yeah.
He's not part of your best 11. You got to play your best 11 at home. So if they're all fit, and I think 100%, he's going to go with Christian Eriksen and Bruno Fernandes, and they have to go all out. This is a must-win game, and unfortunately, every game now has sort of become must-win.
Yeah. Well, the sticking point now, you talk about best 11s, and here we are, the never-ending debate, the weekly debate up front. Should Cristiano Ronaldo be playing? Before the game, I was thinking, again, this was under the impression that we were going to be 4-0 up at halftime against Ammonia with Ronaldo bagging 2 goals. I thought, okay, Rashford will play on the left. Jadon Sancho is still out of form. So it'll be Rashford on the left against Newcastle and Cristiano Ronaldo up front. Now, we had the day we had in front of goal against Ammonia, and Jadon Sancho came off the bench and was quite lively. As we said, we gave him our 2 points in our 3-2-1s. So before the match, I was thinking, okay, Rashford on the left, Ronaldo up front, and Anthony on the right. Now I look at it and think, a betting man would potentially suggest that is the case. But now I just wouldn't be shocked, and whether this is the right thing or wrong thing, I'm not sure. But now I could see a situation where Ronaldo drops back to the bench, Rashford plays through the middle with Jadon Sancho back to the left. Now that might be, people say that, okay, that enables us to play better football. Maybe it does. I'm just not sure. It's just one of those ones, usually we have an opinion with it. Yep, that's the right thing to do. This one, I'm not sure what the right thing is to do. Just your thoughts on it.
I think with Ronaldo being dropped and people saying that enables us to play better football, I think that depends on that depends on Martial being up front.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I don't think we play better football because Rashford is running through the middle.
No, that's a good point.
I see a lot of similarities in between, between not him and Ronaldo's game, so to speak, but for me, Ronaldo obviously doesn't offer up that great link-up play that Martial does. Rashford doesn't either, though.
Well, yeah, Ronaldo and Rashford look completely different in regards to the physical attributes there, but when they do get the ball, say, I don't know, the number 10 position, they drop in and get the ball a little bit. It's the same thing, not good or bad, it's just the same type of body language and the same movement. Yeah, there's the same outcome in what they decide. Where Anthony Martial
just passing the ball back, you know what I mean? It's not like it's a great link up as Martial would provide. So I think that all solely relies on Martial being up front. If Martial is fit and he's 100% fit, obviously, if he's 100% fit, you'd play him up front and obviously bench Ronaldo. But I think in this game, with obviously Martial being I don't know if he is fit for this
Yeah,
one.
well, this obviously recorded before Erik ten Hag's press conference, or it's been released. I think Erik ten Hag, after the Europa League, usually does his press conference after the match, and it's held back. So maybe by the time people listen to this, it's usually about now. So potentially quotes will be coming out quite soon. Let's go under the assumption Erik ten Hag has said Anthony Martial is out. Just what would you do if you're the manager? Is it Jadon Sancho on the left with Rashford up front, or do you keep Rashford and Ronaldo in the starting 11?
I might even go Sancho and Ronaldo.
Well, yeah, that is a potential chance, which I've said in regards to potential front threes. Now, I don't think we've seen that in regards to, not seen that, not at the expense of a fit Marcus Rashford. Don't think we've seen that. Potentially we have, but that is a shout. Could you see that happening?
Probably not. Probably not, because I do think, obviously Anthony does have that creative flair that, Ten Hag probably wants out of his front three, and Sancho also being a creative player, maybe he just wants Rashford up there for pure speed to sort of compensate for the lack of speed that Ronaldo has. I don't know. I can see him sticking with this Rashford and Ronaldo part of the top three up front, but I wouldn't be surprised if Sancho comes in to start, and I wouldn't complain either. I wouldn't mind seeing him get another run because he has been dropped last couple of games.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, it's one of the ones I think against Everton we knew what 11 we're going to see. Now it's one of those ones where I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but it will be interesting now before kickoff with no idea what will happen. But that is obviously does add to a little bit of the excitement. Now, before we wrap up, we'll start to wrap up. If you haven't left a like on the video, please do. If there's anything else in the live chat you do want us to discuss or any talking points or any news, do get it in there before we do wrap up. But before we move on, Emad, in regards to wrapping up the podcast, Man United is always the biggest game, no matter who we play. If we're away at Bournemouth, it's the biggest game of the round, always. So I stand by that. Now, yes, maybe if there's a North London derby, okay, maybe that is a bigger game if we're away at Southampton. I understand that. But Liverpool are playing Man City this week. That is a big game. I can't hide from that. Now, thank God Liverpool aren't in the position they have been over the last couple of years, and unfortunately Manchester City are, unfortunately. But what do you make of this? Because, yes, okay, Erling Haaland, he'll go score a hat-trick. Okay, we're all saying that. Unfortunately, it just scares me. If Liverpool are going to sort of bounce back and get a result, unfortunately, it's in this one. Now, but I should be happy Manchester City are losing points and we can gain ground, or shouldn't be too worried about Liverpool, but there is still in the back of my mind, I can't deal with Liverpool getting 3 points.
Yeah, I'm the same. I don't see Liverpool bouncing back in this one. I really I see City just steamrolling them, and I hope they just continue just to pummel them as far deep into the ground as humanly possible. Man, they're done. They are done.
Do you think you see Manchester United at the Etihad sort of capitulate? Now, yes, at the expense of a far better team. So when a better team like Manchester, they beat us by 3 goals. Okay, quite standard. Do Liverpool possess the same sort of frailties as Manchester United, where you could see Liverpool, as you could see Manchester City go and score in 6? Because I kind of can. Now, look, you can. I kind of can, but I kind of think, well, no, it wouldn't happen.
Don't forget, Villa slapped this.
Yeah, well, that is the one. Yes.
The greatest Liverpool, the greatest English side to ever play in the Premier League, Aston Villa slapped them 7-2.
That was the greatest day of football. Like in a tough period for the world and obviously Manchester United fans, losing 6-1 to Tottenham and having an absolute nightmare of Liverpool fans half an hour later, they're not going to concede 6 like David De Gea. Then he goes and concedes 7 to Aston Villa.
7, yeah. The frailties are there, and I think now. See, this is another thing. Like when we speak about criticism of players and how they deal with it, I don't think these Liverpool players are dealing with the criticism quite well. I mean, Trent Alexander-Arnold, he's struggling, and Klopp continues to throw him under the bus by picking him and not taking him out of the side. Van Dijk's struggling as well. I'm not saying he's struggling with the criticism, but he's struggling in that back four. Their midfield is old as hell.
I never liked it, and you know me, we've had plenty of discussions. And we've done it constantly on this podcast over the years. So I think everyone is right to an extent, but I always find it hard, and I try to hold back of my criticism of players' attitudes. I always try and give them the benefit of the doubt. Say, no, they are working hard, even if I maybe don't believe they are. I do give them the benefit of the doubt. I do get that feeling with City. I'm so sorry with Liverpool and some of their players. That just the attitude of some of them, like an Alexander-Arnold, like a Virgil van Dijk. I truly get the sense this is without watching them every week or sort of getting to know them, like you sort of do get invested in your own team and you know the personality traits of certain players. But what I do see from a Van Dijk or a Jordan Henderson or a Trent Alexander-Arnold, it does look like they believe their own hype, and long may that continue because I think it's potentially part of the downfall.
100%. It's the part of their downfall, and they do believe their own hype. Van Dijk goes home every week and tells his wife that he's a Rolls Royce. He believes it, but he's running a Datsun motor. That other fraud on the left, I hate this guy as much as you hate.
You're with me. We've had plenty of discussions about Robertson.
Andy Robertson. Oh my God, I can't stand that bloke. He's another flog who thinks he's the greatest left back to ever play the game. And then you've got Trent Alexander-Arnold. You know, I don't hate Trent. I honestly don't hate him because I think he's a great footballer going forward. But we all know, and we've known for years. I mean, Rashford skinned him at Old Trafford years ago. He can't defend.
Your thoughts on Trent? I discussed this on Twitter, and as I said, we'll try and wrap this up quickly in the next couple of minutes. But as a Friday Night Pint, we do sort of go off on little bits of tangent. I put this on Twitter the other day on a Liverpool fan bit and had a bit of a discussion with him. Trent Alexander-Arnold revolutionises the right back position. I've had many debates on here in regards to Scott McTominay. I've said, okay, I prefer everyone knows what's coming in regards to this statement here.
Sorry, can I just cut you off 1 sec? What do you mean revolutionises the right?
No, I don't agree with that. But that's what they say.
He's not the first, but anyway, go on.
Exactly. But I don't watch Liverpool's youth team, but I remember watching a couple of on MUTV Liverpool's youth teams over the last couple of years, and Trent Alexander-Arnold was a central midfielder. Central midfielder for Liverpool, came on the bench for the first team. One of those things where, okay, an opportunity came up at right back last 5 minutes of a game. He got his debut at right back. He's never looked back. But he's a central midfielder. I'm telling you, in regards to how good that Liverpool team is and the way they play, I'm telling you, you put any central midfielder, you put Andreas Pereira at right back for Liverpool, they're going to get that time on the ball. They're going to get those crosses in.
Oh, yeah.
And he's going to look a fantastic player. So all it is, Trent's not a fantastic right back. He's just a good footballer playing at right back. You put any good footballer in the Premier League out at right back in that Liverpool team, they're going to look world class. Every time he's tested defensively, obviously, he's going to get found out. That's not a huge criticism of him because it's not his game. It's what we've been discussing in regards to Scott McTominay earlier. We're criticising him for things he's not capable of. Trent's not capable of that duty as a fullback, but he's put there. I'm just thinking this notion that he has sort of reinvented the wheel at right back, it's nonsense. He's just a good footballer playing at right back in a good team. And you'll ask any footballer, like any good footballer, what's the easiest position to play on the ball? It's fullback. It's where you get all the time in the world. And you can't make a mistake at fullback. If you get the ball at right back, play a pass. Okay, you made the pass. If nothing's on, whip it down the line. You can't make a mistake when you're on the ball at fullback. Unless you put yourself in trouble.
I can't believe that there's people out there and former professional footballers and pundits and experts and you name it have even considered putting Trent's name in the same sentence as the likes of Cafu from Brazil. Are you serious?
To be fair, Luke Shaw had the nickname last year, Shawberto Carlos.
Yeah, I know that's just banter. It's taking the piss. But these guys are serious about when their comparisons with Trent and Cafu, like they're off their head. Yeah. Man, there's so many right backs in the game past, back in the day, in the earlier times of the Premier League, and just in the history of football, who have done the exact same thing. Yeah. I'm pretty sure we can go and get a compilation of Gary Neville whipping the ball into the box, and someone, and the likes of Yorkie and Sheringham and Cole and Ollie getting on the end of it and scoring. I mean, it's not that hard. Like he gets his praises, and I don't know why they praise him as the best right back in the world. All his praise comes from everything he does going forward. Now, unless positions have changed, or the names of the positions have changed. For me, a right back is a right back. And your favourite player, Roy Keane, will tell you his first job is to defend. Do your job.
Do your job, yep.
And his first job, he doesn't do it.
So, look, I couldn't agree more. And it's just one of those things, as I said, it just sort of popped up in my mind. We'll talk about Liverpool and Manchester City, and fingers crossed Haaland can sort of continue to steamroll and maybe embarrass Trent and Virgil van Dijk a little bit more.
Yeah, but like you said, they believe their own hype, man. I don't know. They're the most hyped up club in English football since Klopp has come in. Obviously,
well, if you look back, if this Klopp era does end, which we obviously alluded to potentially, or Erik Ten Hag alluded to, all these eras come to an end. Fingers crossed this is the end for Liverpool. When we do look back in 20 years' time of this era, their most successful period of this millennium, It's one Champions League and one Premier League title. Like,
That's it.
It was a good 2 years, but that's all. So
That's it. And that's all it'll ever be. And they'll never be considered, that whole talk about the greatest ever side. Heck,
no. I don't think they get in the top 10. They go in the same category as Leicester for me. Leicester and Blackburn.
Mate,
they go into that category.
They came second and they were getting praised like they've just won everything. Like
praise. They got a bloody parade for coming second, didn't they?
I don't know.
Lost the Champions League final. Next day, they're out there with their trophies.
There was more praise for them than there was for City, and City won the bloody league.
There was. But look,
anyway.
good fun way to finish the podcast. But do appreciate everyone in the live chat and your interaction. Make sure you do leave a like on the video. That would be great. And if you are new, if you could subscribe, that would be great. Emad is on Man Utd. You can find a link to the description, link to Emad's channel in the description below. Please do give that a follow, and you just have to look in the background of his obviously the Scott McTominay propaganda as well. Yeah. Obviously some of the good memorabilia in the background as well. So go check out Man Utd.
Thanks for joining us, Scotty.
I should have put the flag up, the Scott McTominay flag, but that is an end for the McPubcast. And he won't be getting any points on the weekend because he's suspended. But fingers crossed United do get the 3 points because, my God, we need them. And until then, hope everyone has a good weekend. Larry and I will hopefully be back on Monday to discuss that. And up the Reds, 3 points, please. Cheers.
See you later.